Something strange is happening behind the scenes. Major networks are suddenly quiet. Articles that once questioned the fake Katy Perry space trip have vanished. Headlines that exposed inconsistencies in the story, gone, replaced with fluff pieces, edited, sanitized, scrubbed clean. And behind all of it, Jeff Bezos. He didn't just sell a lie, he's now erasing the truth. According to internal leaks and whistleblowers, Jeff Bezos has been actively using his wealth and influence to control the narrative around Katy Perry's fake space mission. Not through public statements, not through legal threats, but through cold, calculated media suppression. It started small, quiet phone calls to editors, vague warnings from legal teams, pressure placed on advertising partners. Then came the real muscle: offers, deals, pay. Drop the story and your funding doubles. Keep it up and your access disappears. These weren't rumors, these were direct communications, backed by contracts, protected by non-disclosure agreements, and buried under digital red tape. Multiple media outlets that had once questioned the legitimacy of Katy Perry's space trip suddenly reversed course. Journalists were pulled off assignments, investigative reports were locked down indefinitely, and in one case, a full-length documentary was shut down overnight without explanation, even after months of development and pre-release promotion. Why? Because Jeff Bezos wasn't going to let the lie unravel. He wasn't just protecting Perry, he was protecting himself. The entire stunt, the fake launch, the scripted interviews, the tightly edited footage, wasn't just about entertainment. It was a marketing ploy, a calculated strategy to blend pop culture with Bezos's interstellar ambitions. And if the public found out it was fake, it wouldn't just ruin Perry, it would damage Blue Origin, Amazon's brand, and his own legacy. So he moved fast. He leveraged every asset he had. Outlets owned by Amazon or linked to his business empire were the first to fall in line. Then came the independent voices, offered incentives to shift focus or quietly retire the story. In some cases, Bezos' team didn't even need to ask. Editors who depended on Amazon for advertising or cloud infrastructure knew what was expected. One word from Bezos, and their entire business model could collapse. They fell silent. Even newsrooms with no ties to Bezos reported strange changes. Writers were told to tone it down, shift the angle, or wait for more confirmation. But confirmation never came because sources were being pressured, documents were disappearing, and anyone willing to speak up was met with silence or legal threats. It wasn't just censorship, it was media warfare. Bezos used money like a scalpel, cutting away pieces of the truth until only the version he approved remained. His public silence wasn't just arrogance, it was strategy. The less he said, the more power he held. Let the press eat itself, let the controversy burn out, and if someone tried to relight the flame, snuff it out before it spreads. And it worked. The public forgot. The story faded, and anyone trying to dig deeper hit a wall. Behind the scenes, former employees and insiders describe a network of suppression more complex than anything they'd ever seen. Messages routed through third-party firms, payouts disguised as consulting fees, editors who received direct calls from Bezos's lawyers, demanding retractions, threatening lawsuits, offering exclusive future access in exchange for silence. Some caved, some quit, some leaked. What they revealed paints a chilling picture. Jeff Bezos is not just a businessman. He's a narrative architect, someone who builds the story he wants the world to believe and destroys anything that challenges it. This wasn't a one-time act of damage control. It was a coordinated campaign to rewrite history, and it's not limited to Perry. Other celebrities, journalists, and influencers connected to Bezos' projects have experienced similar erasure. Stories disappear. Posts get flagged. Videos are demonetized. Platforms, many of which rely on Amazon Web Services, quietly push content lower in the algorithm, making it harder to find. No bans, no censorship labels, just quiet digital suffocation. It's brilliant and terrifying because when someone controls both the infrastructure and the media, truth becomes optional. And now, as the dust settles around the Katy Perry scandal, the real story isn't just that the space trip was fake, it's that the cleanup was faster, stronger, and more effective than anyone expected because Jeff Bezos didn't panic. He planned. He knew how to make journalists back down. He knew how to make publishers rethink priorities. And most importantly, he knew the public would move on. As long as the platforms they trusted stopped talking, and that's exactly what happened. But some cracks are starting to show. Independent bloggers, anonymous leakers, and rogue ex-employees have begun publishing fragments of what Bezos tried to bury. A journalist in Berlin released screenshots of emails from a PR executive tied to Blue Origin, showing clear instructions to kill any negative spin on the Perry event. A tech whistleblower exposed metadata scrub jobs on archived videos, revealing timestamps and file edits that align too closely with Bezos's internal press briefings. These aren't coincidences, they're traces of a carefully coordinated media blackout. Even more revealing are the NDAs. Legal experts who've reviewed fragments of leaked contracts say they were some of the most aggressive confidentiality agreements they've ever seen. Full media gag orders, penalties exceeding millions of dollars, prohibitions on even acknowledging that the agreement exists. That's not normal PR. That's panic disguised as control. Behind closed doors, a different story emerges. Bezos wasn't just worried about backlash from Katy Perry's space scandal. He feared it would expose his deeper strategy, using celebrity culture to manipulate public trust in his broader ventures. Space tourism, private aerospace contracts, global infrastructure. Public perception is the currency of future power, and he nearly lost control of it. So he buried it, and anyone who stood in the way was pushed aside. Meanwhile, reporters who tried to cover the story found themselves suddenly locked out. Emails stopped getting returned, interview requests were denied, even long-standing partnerships between outlets and Amazon-owned properties began to mysteriously expire. One investigative journalist with nearly 20 years of experience revealed that his entire archive of work, which included past pieces critical of Bezos, had been flagged and demonetized across multiple platforms overnight. No explanation, no recourse, it was just gone. Digital platforms connected to Amazon's infrastructure had quietly become tools of narrative management. Think about it. Amazon owns Twitch. It controls a major slice of streaming infrastructure. It powers the backends of hundreds of popular media sites, and it sells ad space to nearly every digital publication still standing. If Bezos wants a story buried, he doesn't need to bribe every journalist. He just needs to squeeze the systems that keep their jobs alive. It's soft censorship, but with hard consequences. And what's worse, most people don't even notice it's happening. Stories disappear quietly, coverage changes tone, fact checkers suddenly can't verify what was once obvious. It's not that people stop caring, it's that they never realized the story was there to begin with, and Bezos is counting on that. He's counting on short attention spans, on digital chaos, on the flood of content that buries uncomfortable truths under a million memes, clips, and distractions. He doesn't need to fight every battle. Just make sure the one that threatens him doesn't go viral. Because if it does, the empire starts to shake, and that's the real danger. What else has he buried? If he can scrub Katy Perry's scandal from the internet in under 2 weeks, what can he do with bigger stories? Stories involving government contracts, union busting, surveillance tech. This isn't just about one pop star, it's about the future of information. When a billionaire can rewrite the news with a phone call, we're not just losing trust, we're losing history. And yet, there's still a chance to stop it. Whistleblowers are still coming forward. Independent journalists are piecing together what mainstream media won't touch. Tech experts are publishing open source reports showing content manipulation, tied to AWS server activity. People are watching again. And the cracks Bezos tried to seal are beginning to widen. This won't be the last story he tries to bury, but it might be the first he fails to keep buried. Because the more he silences, the more people start asking, what else is he hiding? And when those questions grow loud enough, no amount of money can quiet them, not even Bezos money.